okay? Or you hold other people responsible for something that they have nothing to do with. That's not right. And it's in the same sense of canceling people because they happen to do business with somebody, or canceling somebody because they had somebody on their show, for whatever reason, or you had a concert and you allowed XYZ individual to be at the concert. Let's say you have a concert in Coachella Valley there, and Ted Nugent is going to be there, right? And you get a bunch of protesters and you circle the entrance, and you don't let anybody in because you don't like Ted Nugent. Because Ted Nugent, the rocker Ted Nugent, is kind of a little bit to the right of Adolf Hitler or Genghis Khan or whatever. And that's the kind of thing, and it's happening more and more and more in America today. And that's the kind of thing that's wrong, okay? You're blaming people for simply having it's guilt by association is what it is. And the Constitution is pretty clear about that. We have the right of association. We have the right to associate with whomever we want to associate. Okay? You can't punish us, or you can't remove our rights, one of our rights from us because we associate with a certain individual. You can't do that. All right? Yesterday in California, the SPCA made a ruling that they will not allow members of the NRA to adopt pets. Now that's taking a right away from somebody because they choose to associate with the NRA. That's unconstitutional on the face of it. I would think these people are setting themselves up for a huge lawsuit. You can't do that. It'd be like saying, I'm not going to sell you whatever because you're a Lutheran. You decide to associate with Lutherans, and so I'm not going to sell you this product. You can't do that. That is so un-American and is so unconstitutional. It's crazy. But this is how nutty our world is becoming and our society is becoming. You want to punish people for their ideas. You want to punish people for their opinions. Now, granted, some people's opinions may be kind of crazy. I grant you that, all right? But, yeah, on the other hand, there are plenty of people that have opinions all around the board that are crazy, right? I think somebody, who born with male genitalia wants to use the girl's restroom. I think they're a little fruity, frankly. I think that's a little crazy. That's their opinion, and they would demand right to that opinion and to practice their life the way they want to. Well, okay, but if I happen to think that that's nutty or that's wrong, then all of a sudden people aren't going to want to punish me. Well, wait a minute. How come he can have his opinion, but I can't have mine? What's going on with that? So this whole concept, see, of punishing people for their associations, for their opinions, for their likes and dislikes, for what they wear, for what they buy, for what they eat, all of that is just wrong. It's just wrong. It's prejudicial, it's bigoted, it's wrong. And we should not tolerate it. But of course, it's getting harder and harder, of course, to do that. Was there one more left here? Express doubts about God's goodness, wisdom, or daily care. Well, I think we all do that, don't we? Whether we admit it or not. I think we all say, once in a while, we probably look at the world and we say, does God really know what he's doing? It doesn't seem like it does. It seems like he's gone off fishing, or he's just looked away for a minute and is not paying attention. I think we all have that feeling every once in a while, and you just kind of, what's going on? And sometimes it takes real effort when we're hearing about a mass shooting, or we're hearing about an earthquake that buries, a church, or a school full of little kids, or a hurricane that wipes out a nursing home. We're listening to that, and so it takes effort to not just go, where's God? and you have to put that thought away, and you have to think, well, God knows what He's doing, and even though I don't understand it, God's doing what's right for the world, and it takes effort. It takes effort, okay? And if especially if you're not trained to do that in your life, you're not going to, of course, and therefore you're going to have a lot of people who aren't trained to do that, expressing doubts, all over the place. Okay, and it can happen to us too if we don't watch it. All right. So a good point is made here. I'm not sure that I would exactly express it this way, but as I was telling Rebecca, you're limited in how many words you can use, and sometimes you when you edit after you're, let's say 350 words and you got 500. You got to get rid of 150 words. It's tough. And sometimes you take out explanations that may have been in there about, speaking terribly about positions of leadership. Maybe his next sentence may have been, now that's fine and good according to American standards or something like that, but always remember so-and-so. So maybe he had 2 other sentences in there that he decided to get rid of and just leave the thought as it is. That's the kind of thing that happens with this. Anything else before we move on to Arminianism? Yes?
Pray, oh Lord, open my lips. Aren't we just praying like, give us the right worship, give us the right worship?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think he should have stuck with the. Yeah, I think he should have stuck with declaring the wonders of God. Rather than going to the liturgy, open my lips and my mouth shall declare your praise. I'm not sure that that's really what that means. Open my mouth means all day, every day. I think it's in the liturgy for a reason, and it was in the Psalms for a reason. In other words, what I have always interpreted this to mean in the Psalms is that the psalm writer is asking God to give him the ability, the right, the time and effort and whatever to express his praise and thanks to God. That's all I've ever seen in that. Okay, Lord, open my mouth means allow me to participate now in worship, and allow me to say your praises out there in the world. I'm not sure. I kind of know where he's going. I mean, I know why he took off on there, but I wouldn't have done it that way, but then I'm not asked to do meditations anymore for various reasons. So go ahead.
But isn't our entire life and everything we say and do supposed to pray?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And so when we open our mouths at any time,
Yeah. Yeah.
if we say the wrong thing,
Mm-hmm.
we're defending them.
Yeah, and we're not doing what we need to do to proclaim the gospel, let's say, and lead people to God. Yeah, when we're sitting at a stoplight and the windows are down and somebody takes off or goes blasting through a red light and we're ready to turn left and we cuss and swear and do all kinds of stuff, or somebody cuts us off or whatever, and especially if we have a nice big cross hanging on our our rear view mirror or whatever, that causes problems for the gospel.
Didn't Jesus himself say, it is not what you take in,
Right.
but it is the words that come out of your mouth.
Yeah, right. Oh, that's very true. Yes.
He didn't say only during
Right.
church.
Right. No. So that's true. I don't know that verse speaks to that. I think those verses you mentioned speak to it more. But again, he probably did that because he knows people hear those words quite frequently in the worship service, and so that was a way to take off on this particular tangent. Guys who write meditations, myself included, tend to have little hobby horses that we ride, and we like to come back over and over and over to the same hobby horses. Maybe that's one with this guy. One of the things I've always objected to in our synod, in the Missouri Synod, in Portals of Prayer, they have initials at the end of the Portal of Prayer, so you know you can go back to the front and see who had those initials, and you can see who wrote that, and you could write to them yourself. All you have to do is go on the Missouri Synod website, plug in that guy's name, and they will give you an email or a telephone number or an address, and you can write to them and say, why did you say that? We don't do that. We give a list of the guys who write the meditations at the beginning of each book, but at the end of each meditation, we don't put our little initials down so you can go back and see who did that. You're always if you complain about something, you're always told, talk to the editor. And the editor of Meditations for many years has been my dearest friend in the ministry, Kurt Jan. And Kurt finally, as I told Rebecca, finally called me and said, we're not going to ask you to do meditations anymore, because man, do I get phone calls. Oh, hey, and just, mostly I think my problem was very often historical allusions that nobody had any idea that existed. And so they would go try and find out what they were and didn't know, or making very, very unpopular references, like, making reference, like, I know one time I made a reference to the Revolutionary War as a rebellion against God, and oh my goodness, poor Kurt, he just got all kinds of nasty comments about that, and he called me and said, don't say that again, please, and so that kind of thing. And, so my historical views sometimes would come out, and oh man, and so I was asked not to do that. Okay. Yes, ma'am. One more. That's okay. That's okay.
What you mean. So earlier you said that the Proud Boys, the charges against them would be the same as the charges against
Could be.
a lot of the revolution.
Could be, yes.
Okay. So what you're saying is that what they did was against God.
It was rebellion, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
I've stated that many, 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 many times. Now, other theologians will argue that the colonists did send Benjamin Franklin to Parliament, and he spent many years in London, and he spent a lot of time trying to get the point across to the Parliament people and the king and his advisors as to what they were doing wrong with America. In addition, the Americans always, at the beginning anyway, said, hey, we're Englishmen too, and you're treating us worse than you're treating the Englishmen in England, all right? And you shouldn't do that. Those are opinions. And Parliament continued to say, yeah, but it costs us a lot of money to put troops on a ship, provision the ship, send the ship 1,000 miles across the ocean, provision the troops over there to protect you from the Indians, Native Americans, okay? Which is what they were doing. That costs us money. We can't do that for free. Yeah, fine. If you lived in Gloucestershire, we could do it pretty much for free. If you lived in York, we could do it for free. If you lived even in Glasgow, we could do it pretty much for free. Okay? We can't do it for free if you live in Boston. All right? We can't. No government, except ours today, of course, no government can just continue to just throw money away and not take in income to make it up. And for some reason, the American colonists just never got that. I don't know why, but they just went, it's just they never really understood why they were being treated different than than their brothers over in England, sisters over in England. They never got it. Frankly, I think it was dumb, some of the taxes that Parliament put on. They should have taxed something else. Don't tax somebody's tea. Don't tax an Englishman's tea. That's just not wise. That's not smart. Okay. Don't. If you're going to protect the people with troops, don't do it on the cheap. and have the troops stationed or quartered in people's homes. That's cheap. Okay, I mean, I understand you don't want to save a little money, but come on. Okay, if you're going to do it, it would be like okay, we're going to have a forward base in Poland, right? Which I think we do, and a military base in Poland, and instead of building the base and building barracks and building buildings and whatever, we just say, well, no, just go live with a Polish family. Right? And they can feed you, and they can, provide you a bed, and all this kind of stuff, and so on and so forth, and provide you their Wi-Fi. Okay, that would be okay. We have to have somebody in Poland. Okay, fine, but doing it on the cheap. No, come on. If you're going to do it, let's do it right. So anyway, I am sympathetic to the colonists' plight. All right, I am not sympathetic to the colonists' actions. The colonists' actions were wrong, all right, just like the Proud Boys were wrong. Obviously, they wanted to create true sedition. They wanted to actually do a coup d'etat. That is wrong. Coups are always wrong. Coups are always a rebellion. Now, has God allowed coups in tons of cases in history world? Yes. From the very beginning, from the time of the Babylonian Empire till today. God stands by sometimes and allows the coup to take place. That's his business, not ours. Okay? We shouldn't support that. If God allows it, God allows it, but we shouldn't support it. Yeah.
That day, everybody watching, no matter what party they were, conservative or liberal, was in shock on what was
Sure.
happening.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Totally in shock.
Yeah,
And the
yeah.
way the media makes it out to be is that half of the country was pro demonstration. Well, that's the way the media makes it.
Yeah.
But I can guarantee you, strong conservatives were literally shocked at what was happening. They were crying because we were watching it at group of us at the bar, and people were looking at each other in shock, like you could see in their face, like, what is happening here? No, this is not the way. But what I find amazing is nowadays, when they're still holding out for this, 12 months ago, nobody was that concerned about Portland and Seattle going up in flames and, rights being taken away from people because, like you said, they're being had. Nobody said a word about that for 4 years.
That's true, but as my father used to tell me all the time, you are conservatives, if you want to call them that, or strict constructionists or historical constitutionalists are never, ever, 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 ever in the majority, and they are never, ever, 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 ever given fair coverage or whatever. Okay, just understand that that's the way of the world. Okay, don't cry about it. It's just understand if you take those stands, that's what's going to happen to you, and don't whine and cry about it. It is what it is, right? I remember him giving us a little speech before we went out to campaign for Barry Goldwater back in 1964. He said, people are going to laugh at you. People are going to throw stuff at you. People are going to call you names. What bother you? That's the way it has always been. Don't worry about it. No big deal. I got a really good, as a 10-year-old, a really good lesson in life. Hanging off the back of his pickup truck, throwing bundles of stickers and pamphlets and leaflets and stuff like that on street corners for the volunteers to pass out. And I got into a fist fight before the election with one of my best friends, who was a big Democrat, and I got into a fist fight with him. And my old man punished me. He punished me. I said, "Well, you guy was calling me names. Goldwater's in the toilet. What do you find in the toilet? Goldwater. Stuff like that." And I punched him in the mouth. And we wrestled around on the floor, and the principal picked me up and called my father, and my father came and whipped me. And he said, if you can't take a little bit of name calling because you support a particular viewpoint, Good grief. Get a life, kid. You know, he didn't say it that way, but, you know, yeah.
Kind of two issues. One, being what you were just talking on, kind of, the thing that I want to find out is who organized that event on the 6th. That was not spontaneous. You know,
No.
we need to find that. And same with people who's happening around. Those were all organized. Those were not
Did you notice
spontaneous.
that nobody talked about that one name that everybody knows was instigating it? Nobody brought that name up at the hearings.
Oh.
The other thing-
I think it's not hard to find, Tony. It was you have to get a permit in Washington D.C. All right, and the demonstration was always going to be. Everybody knew that there was going to be a demonstration that day. Okay,
Right.
and it was you got a permit for the demonstration, and I think it was put on by, if it wasn't put on by the Republican Party, it was put on by some adjunct to them, and then I think social media took over, and people started calling and texting other people, say, hey, we're having a demonstration, you know, support President Trump, blah, 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 blah. And I think these Proud Boys and some of these other groups got, hey, here's an opportunity for a little rapscallionness. Yeah, sure, yeah. A lot of these things are you know, it's like the Rodney King riots, right? The Rodney King riots years ago, right? Did Rodney King's family orchestrate that? No, of course not. Did you know, the Black Panthers or the Crips or the Bloods or whoever organized that? No. Maybe a small group of people said, hey, let's go march around and let's complain about what happened to Rodney King. And then other people, and this was before the days of cell phones, of course, but other people got on the phone or other people just told other people and, hey, let's do this. And then, of course, when it got out of hand, people said, hey, I want a new color TV. Okay? And the same thing with George Floyd, and the same thing with you know, any number of other situations down through the years. Americans, I won't say Americans love to riot, but Americans like to express themselves. Americans love crowds. They love crowds. I found this out. I found this out in El Paso, especially when I started my little church there in El Paso with 8 people, and in an antique store on Mesa, and I would get visitors every now and then. The visitors would come in, they'd look around, they'd see 8 people, they'd turn around, get in their car, and leave. Americans like crowds. Okay, if you've got a really, 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 really good movie, I mean a really good movie. I mean it hits all the buttons. It's dramatic. It's great acting, great scenery, great everything else, great story. You know, it's Shakespeare, whatever. Put to music, or I don't know, whatever. If it doesn't get good crowds, and how many times? I mean, you can go on Rotten Tomatoes, or you can go on Fandango, or you can go on these sites, and you can find movies that get 99% ratings and last in the theater for 1 week. Because word of mouth, okay? Nobody goes to see it, or very few people, they think they see it, I'm not going to see that, you know, for whatever reason. So then they don't tell anybody else that they did, and so on and so forth. And so no crowds show up, and and it never gets, and it may have been the greatest thing ever done, but no Academy Award nominations, no Golden Globes, no nothing, because it doesn't have the crowds. Right? Look at what was his name? Had the car with the 3 headlights. What was Tucker? Yeah, great guy. Super innovations. His cars were safe. His cars were well built. His cars were top of the line. Okay? But he didn't have tons of people crowding the showroom. And Americans vote with their feet. That's how we vote. We vote with our feet. Whatever is popular, that's what we go for.
The other comment was, why is it every time Biden kind of gets in a bind, in a sense, which is almost all the time, keep saying, for Christ's sake, what's he trying to, why is he trying to bring Christ in?
It's just no. It's one of his. It's just one of his little profanities that he grew up with. I'm sure.
So you
And-
consider it a profanity?
oh yeah. It's taking God's name in vain. Oh yeah, no question about it. I don't know why anybody. I don't know why people haven't called him on it. You know, it's kind of. But in he's not Irish, right? Isn't he? Is he Irish? His mother may be Irish. I don't know. I don't know, Delaware. I don't know. Anyway, he's Roman Catholic, at least on paper. But you know, Irish people or Mexicans too, for that matter, various ethnic groups that are Roman Catholic will have things that they say that are quite blasphemous. All right, if you look at them, you know. What's one? I had a guy in my congregation, but the ranch. One of my ranch foremen, our ranch foreman used to say, what was it? Margaret, Mary, Jesus, and Joseph, something like that.
Oh, yeah,
You know, Margaret, Mary, Jesus, and Joseph. You know, or Mary and her baby too. You know, or something like that. You know. Yeah, a lot of these ethnic groups grow up with a lot of these things that aren't right out, you know, profanity in the sense of vulgarity, but they kind of take the place of what they would say otherwise, and so that's what happens to a lot of people. I had a friend in confirmation class that used to constantly say, anytime he would have an outburst like that, he would say, Jesus Olu. Well, Jesus Olu was a baseball player. I don't know if any of you remember Jesus Olu, but he was a baseball player. I forget who he played for. I think he played for the Giants. But anyway, Jesus Olu. And one day our parochial school teacher called him on it and said, you're really meaning to say, or you're really thinking in your head, Jesus Christ is an expression of pain or surprise or whatever. And you're taking Jesus' name in vain. I remember this, his name was Lynn. He was kind of a smart aleck kid. And he said, how do you know what I'm thinking? I may just be thinking about baseball. Jesus Olu, you know? So, anyway. Yeah. It's like I was preaching one time in El Paso, we were doing a Lenten rotation, and I just said gee whiz, as a matter of fact. I said gee whiz. It was part of my sermon. And the pastor's wife, he was preaching at my place, and the pastor's wife was there. And as she went out, she said, you know, you took God's name in vain. And I said, huh, what? What? And I said, no, what? And she goes, yeah, you said gee whiz. You know, that stands for God. That's not what I was thinking. I was thinking gee whiz. All I was thinking was gee whiz. You know, I mean, I wasn't thinking anything else, just gee whiz. Well, where else did that come from? It come from God. Well, but I wasn't thinking that. No, you can't put that on me. She made a big deal about it. She called me up the next morning and still wanted my apology. And she wanted me to come appear before the congregation some special meeting and you know, whip myself with wet noodles or something. You know, and her name was Suzanne. And I said, Suzanne, you are a Pharisee and a legalist. And I don't have nothing to do with you. And if you want me to say that to your husband, I most certainly will. Poor man.
What year was that?
Ooh, wow. Now you're really testing me.
50s, 60s, 70s?
Oh, no. I was in El Paso from 86, from 86 to 98.
GWs back then. Social justice warriors.
Oh, yeah.
Every single
She was just a pure legalist.
Yeah.
That's all she was. Nothing more. Yeah. She refused to she had a Christmas tree in her house, but refused to, you were not allowed even to say the word Santa Claus in their house. Everybody, there was Jesus under the tree. He was the present that everybody got. Nice, okay. All the people in the family got one present on Christmas morning, one. And it was usually very small, very, you know, innocuous, whatever, pair of socks, pair of underwear, you know, whatever. and she was very proud of that. And she blasted anyone she'd visit a house, or he and she would visit a house, and there would be piles of Christmas presents. Oh, she would go after them. People like that, they need to go and be on an island someplace, all by themselves.
You just don't talk to those people.
Well,
Whatever you say,
it does, it's no. And he went to another church, and they ran him out of that. And he went to another church, and they ran him out of there. And finally, he retired. So,
you never forced her.
oh no, he thought she walked on water.
She was married to a pastor and he allowed all
Oh yeah. He agreed. He
this.
just.
What point was it maybe some of his fault?
I think a lot of it was his fault. But you didn't know that woman. Ooh, you didn't know her family. I knew her family. You don't want to mess with them people. No, that would not be my choice. No. Okay, listen, folks.
Sir,
Listen,
didn't you
yeah,
just say that he thought she walked on water?
yeah, pretty much.
That's offensive.
We cannot get to our Jacob Arminius. There's no way. Obviously, I would do this if I were you. Okay, I would look forward or go forward or work forward. I don't know what happened to the rest of them here. I had some more. I guess I gave them all away already, and our printer doesn't have a toner, so you're on your own. But I would, from paragraph 14 on page 178, I would read as much as you can forward, okay, so we can talk about it. I would especially urge you to look at page 180, paragraph 23 and following. There is a lot of here, and I know you may not get that far, but Arminianism is the American religion. It is the American version of Christianity. Even though it originated in the Netherlands, it is so American. It fits the American character. It fits the American style. It fits, it's like it was created especially for the United States of America. And so we're going to spend a good amount of time on Jacob and his followers. And because you cannot understand places like Calvary Chapel, First Baptist Church, the Nazarenes, the Assemblies of God, you cannot understand those groups, really. Thoroughly understand them, to know why they're off on their theology and how to speak to them and how to deal with them if you have to. You cannot do that unless you have a real good handle on Arminianism. Okay? It has nothing to do with the country of Armenia. It has to do with a guy by the name of Jacob Arminius who lived in Holland, okay, the Netherlands. And so I would read ahead, starting at paragraph 14. I would read ahead, page or two, so that we can kind of proceed quickly through this and hit the high spots and come to a good understanding of why this has really captured the imagination and the enthusiasm of the American people. It fits perfectly with the Scotch-Irish Welsh mountain people, the southern people, the Midwestern people, those in Oklahoma and Texas. It just fits them to a T. And it does not fit the Germans. It is inimical to the Germans and the Austrians, Czechs, that whole group. Okay, you're not going to find many Armenians in that group. Okay, Russians, Poles, Ukrainians, Belarusians, Romanians, Bulgarians. Not going to find a whole lot. Okay, it's inimical to those groups, cultures. But Irish, yes, Welsh, Scots, Italian, Spanish, Portuguese, and all those in between, and the mixture in America that they've become perfect. And especially, as I say, in the South and the Midwest. And just fits them to a T. Just really does. And that's why it is the most popular religion in America, and thus pretty much in the world when you're talking about the Protestant side of Christianity. One more question, I guess.
I'm just wondering how far you say we should read.
Well, I would try to get to the oh boy, I guess I would try to get to 25. If you, well, 225. If you can. I know that's a lot, but and I won't hold you to that. But he's asking just how far I would like to be able to discuss things with you, and I would say 25. But we'll see. We'll see how far we get. This is a theological discipline, and Americans, frankly, aren't real good at theological discipline. They're not real good at keeping theologies separate. For example, there's a section, I think it's after 25, when I'm comparing Pelagianism and semi-Pelagianism with Arianism, Arminianism. And that gets to be kind of dicey. But again, if you're going to understand the difference between, say, a Southern Baptist and a Roman Catholic, you've really got to kind of have a handle on that. Otherwise, and I will tell you folks, most of my seminary fellows at seminary didn't care for this at all, didn't put any time into it, didn't put any effort into it at all. And most of the pastors I know, still, the vast majority, 90% of the guys I know, don't put any time or effort into this at all. And therefore, when people come to church, maybe they have their background as Arminianist or Pelagian, they don't know really how to deal with them very well. And it really hampers our gospel message when we don't know why people's gospel ideas are out of whack. I mean, these people are saved people for the most part. The Pelagians and semi-Pelagians, Arminians, are saved people, other than unlike the Arians, who are not, okay, because the Arians do not believe in the Trinity. But the Pelagians and semi-Pelagians and Arminians are Trinitarian. They believe in Jesus. For the most part, they believe in the two natures of Christ and the vicarious atonement and all that. For the most part, they're fairly conservative biblically. And so we're not talking about the difference between salvation and non-salvation. We're talking about a gospel that does not function as it should, and a gospel that can lead people to despair. That's the problem with Pelagian, semi-Pelagian, and Arminian gospel. It can lead people to despair and can destroy their faith. That's what's wrong with it. But of course, they don't see it that way. And I will explain why they don't see it that way. Okay. So again, we started this 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago now, with the Hindus, and now we're through all the religions of the world and all the religions of Protestantism, or the main ones anyway. This is the last one. I would say of all the things that we've talked about, aside from maybe the study on Roman Catholicism, I would say this is probably the next most important, really, because again, this is the American religion. It really is. It's the religion of Billy Graham. It's the religion of Jerry Falwell. It's the religion of Jimmy Swaggart. It's the religion of Pat Robertson. It's the religion of the 700 Club. It's the religion of America. It really is. It's the religion of Ronnie Reagan. It's the religion of George Bush. It's the religion of the vast majority of conservatives in our country today. Laura Ingraham, you see on TV, it's her religion. Okay? any other well-spoken conservative types, it's their religion. Huckabee, he's a pastor in this religion, all right, or was. Okay, so you to understand Huckabee, or to understand Billy Graham or Franklin Graham, or to understand how the 700 Club keeps going, to understand all that, you got to understand Arminius. Okay, so I made my pitch. I hope you find the next few weeks to be instructive. All right, let's close. May the grace of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, the love of God the Father, and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be and abide with us all.